record. Welcome to our webinar on engineering careers. And we are happy to have you with us today. I'm Cassie Barlow. I'm the president of the Strategic Ohio Council for Higher Education. And we are lucky today to have with us Joseph Stock from Caney Aerospace. Joseph, welcome.
Good morning, Cassie.
Thanks for being here with us today. We are going to be talking about the career of mechanical engineering today. So Joseph is a mechanical engineer, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what he does for Caney Aerospace. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So first and foremost, Joseph, tell us a little bit about your job and how it relates to your company's success.
So as you said, I'm a mechanical engineer. I work with Caney Aerospace down here in Dayton, Ohio. My job is really a lot of different things. In particular, what I do, at least the division I work for, we work a lot with the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. government to fix their obsolescence issues. So they'll have a part that was maybe made in the 1960s, 70s, early on, and that part is no longer being made now. So our job is to be able to take those components, reverse engineer them, tear them apart, learn how they work, learn how they function, and learn how we can make new versions of those and sell them back to the government. So that way they can continue to operate those systems that they have issues with right now. And so that's a lot of what I do, mostly, and I've done a lot of different other things as well, that can go from making taking concepts we've done in the past and be able to commercialize them. So I've done things where I've taken some simple, like a rack mounted, like a equipment rack mounted boxes, and I've just made those, filled them out full electronics, and be able to slap some nice words on the front so that way we can sell it commercially on our website.
Fantastic. So it sounds like what you do is directly related to the success of your company, because it's all about performing on those contracts to be able to get more contracts for your company and to be able to grow. So it sounds like it's a direct relationship. What does a typical day look like for you? So you get into work, you grab your coffee, and what's next?
So there's really no typical day. There's a general flow, thankfully. So every day is different in terms of what I'm doing, but usually it's show up to work. We have a 9:07 meeting where we get together as a team here at the office. We discuss what exactly is our plan for the day, any news updates, just a quick stand-up meeting. Then I go back, and usually I try to see what else is on my schedule. I don't have a lot of meetings personally, but I have a lot of hands-on work. So I've done things mostly between looking at components, taking measurements, doing CAD modeling, drawings, to doing different types of analysis. I sit down there, I work, take a lunch break, and come back and keep working. If I have a meeting about 3 times a week of different things, usually just a project meeting, just saying where we're at, what we need help with, and things of that nature. So
Okay.
really varies.
Well, it's good to know that they let you eat. That's important. So how long have you been working for this company, and how long have you been a mechanical engineer?
So I've been working for Caney as of this month, 1 year. I've been a mechanical engineer for 1 year as well. So I got hired on shortly after I graduated with my bachelor's degree. But in terms of the industry, I have been interning and doing various things since 2017. So about 5 years or so now,
Okay.
doing various different roles.
Great. So what is that one thing that you really love about coming to work every day and about your job?
I like the environment. There's a good group of people I work with, who are make things fun for the most part. And additionally, just the variety of work. So I'm not doing the same thing every day. My schedule is not overly predictable, and just being able to apply the skills I learned in school into an actual job is really fun to me.
Very cool. Very cool. So how many, we talked a little bit about this already, and I think it's pretty minimal, the number of hours a day that you spend working in groups or in meetings. It sounds like it's pretty minimal.
So meetings, yeah, I don't really work. I don't do a lot of that. Usually it lasts about 30 minutes. Once a month we have our customer meeting, which can go anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how long that takes. But in a typical week, it's really more weekly. I would say I spend about no more than 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours at most in a meeting. Some weeks are a little bit unusual, but in terms of working in groups, all day. So
Okay.
what I have to do is I have to spend a lot of time working with my coworkers to interact face with them and learn from them and discuss plans going forward, but it's more one-on-one basis.
Awesome. All righty. So what's the biggest challenge, would you say, in your job every day?
Ooh, sometimes you just don't know what you need to do. So we'll get some items and we're sitting there trying to figure out what is our next step. Like, how can we figure out how this thing works, and how we can get it to work the way we want it to work. So
Right.
the engineering challenge, I guess.
Absolutely.
That's a big
Well, that sounds
challenge.
like the fun part too. That sounds, I mean, even though it's a challenge, it sounds like a fun challenge. So your work environment then is primarily in an office space, maybe a little bit of time in a laboratory, messing around with pieces of equipment, breaking them down.
Yeah. So I work primarily in an office at a desk. Just that's because I kind of like sitting there and I'll have my piece components in front of me because I like having my 2 big monitors in front of me while I work. Some of my coworkers, they'll go to our engineering lab and they'll bring their laptop with them and they'll do all the work there. And I go there frequently because we have 3 printers we run. Since our intern left, I've been picking those back up, which are fun to use. But it's anywhere between sitting at an office desk using, like I said, the big computer monitors where I can do all different papers on each side of the other, or working in a lab with my hands.
Okay. So you get a nice variety in your environment. Are you expected to be on call at all?
No, we have a pretty solid work 40 hours a week. If you need to work a couple extra hours, that's fine, but you're not expected to be on after hours. Not anyone's really around anyway.
Okay.
I know my boss did have some phone calls once he was on vacation. That's about it.
Okay.
I just didn't know.
Okay. And what about the education or the experience required to get you into the job that you're in right now?
So the education side, it's obviously is a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, ABET accredited from, I went to Wright State University. But in terms of experience, that is a bit more of what we're trying to get, or at least they're a bit more picky on. So teamwork experience, how well do you work on a team? How do you contribute on that type of team? We look for a lot of different types of skills. Like you have hands-on skills, you tear things apart. Can we give you a tool and ask you, hey, can you do this for us? CAD is a good one. One thing I know that they picked me up for was I had a lot of experience in CAD and doing mechanical drawings and a bit of electrical drawings as well in my past for the previous jobs I've done. So just kind of an overall being able to apply what you've learned and be able to demonstrate that is a lot of the experience, as well as being able to work on that team environment.
Okay. That's great. Good answer. So let's talk about hiring new candidates. What are you looking for? What in terms of education are you looking for?
So for education, we hire a lot of interns here, at least we're in the process right now. One things we're always looking for is not necessarily having a degree, but definitely on a degree path. So if you were looking for an intern, we want to make sure like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, some type of engineering in those areas. even engineering technologies. A lot of times we are open to those candidates. But in terms of the education and skills, we're always, like I said, we're looking for people who know how to work on a team. Like, so if you ever done a class project, make sure you are able to talk about what you've done, how you contributed to that team, what kind of successes that your team had, what kind of failures you had, and the challenges you had to overcome to meet those issues.
That's good. Good advice. Really good advice. And what is that skill? What's that one skill when you have a new teammate come in? What is that one skill that you're looking for?
I'd say probably the ability to learn. So
Okay.
if you come into an environment where you're not expected to know everything and anything, but if you're willing to spend time learning a new skill, work with your coworkers. For me, I came in, I never done computational fluid dynamics. So I sat down for about 2 months working, or a month or so working on a project, to being able to show airflow through a metal box. I worked with my coworkers on that pretty heavily just to make sure I understand the process, and I developed that skill over that period of time. So if you're able to learn something new, come in and just have an open mind, it's probably one of the more valuable skills we're looking for.
That's great. That makes a lot of sense, especially in the engineering world. So what about if you had the opportunity to talk with a student who was contemplating mechanical engineering, what would you tell them?
If they were interested in, if they haven't done any schooling so far, I would say, hey, take a chance to go take some things apart in your own home. So if you ever have like an issue, like a broken vacuum or other type of component, take it apart, try to learn what you can, try to put it back together, try and make it work again. See if you like that sort of work. And additionally, try even taking like young tinker boxes and trying to make servos move. It's more electrical, mechanical, but at the same time, those are valuable skills where you learn like programming, you learn hands-on skills and abilities. And then when you get in, if you decide to pursue a path in college, make sure you apply yourself and remember what you've done, and be, like I said, be able to work as a team, and talk a bit about that as well would be great.
Okay. All right. Good advice again. Good advice. What about if you had the opportunity to talk with a teacher or a guidance counselor who was talking with students? What would you want that guidance counselor or teacher to say about being a mechanical engineer?
So that's a good question. From their perspective, I suppose they're trying to understand what the career field's about. And there's no one size fits all, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are significantly better taking things apart, a bit more hands-on, and that's the type of work they prefer. There are some who prefer to sit at a computer working on CAD and designing things all day. And then I know there's some people out there who prefer analysis, and those are some big types of fields. It's a very diverse career field, focusing primarily on being able to think in physical properties of systems, and being able to apply that education and experience that you have to solving everyday problems.
That's good. I love the way you describe that. So solving problems for sure, and working with the physical properties of a system. That's a good way of describing it. So what is the typical career path? You come in as a junior or a fresh engineer, and what's the pathway that you could take? And there's probably several, but.
Oh yeah. So hopefully if you went to college and you graduated from college, you had an opportunity to go learn more about engineering as an intern with 1 or 2 companies. That way, I went that way. I had a chance to work at a manufacturing environment. I learned I didn't much care for that type of work. I prefer more to design. So when I graduated, I had a good idea where I wanted to work at. So taking my example or my experience for my typical career, I've seen it's you graduate university, you find a position somewhere as like a junior engineer. You don't have a lot of experience coming into that, so you're being open-minded, learn, see what you can, see what you like to try to do. So for the first, I want to say 5 years of your career, you are learning more about what type of engineering you enjoy doing. And there, like I said before, there's different career paths. There are people who are very hands-on, who like to sit there and take things apart, learn how things work, learn how to fix things, and help in that process. And manufacturing is one side that does that a fair amount. There's a lot of design work. So if you want to design things, you would spend a lot of time from a CAD or sitting out and doing some calculations for like voltage connections, stresses, stuff of that nature. And then there are people who prefer analysis. So these are people who typically go back to school, get like a master's degree, learn more about different types of vibration environments, different types of stresses, that are they able to come back to a workplace and apply that, and being able to sit there and trying to understand how things actually work, and being able to mathematically show and model basically the world.
All right.
From there is also passing the management as well.
So a lot of different options in mechanical engineering. What about the typical wages when you start in mechanical engineering? What are those typically run, those starting off wages?
So a few years ago, when I was looking into starting a career, typically it seemed to start around 60 to 65,000 a year salary. But I've seen people graduate with little experience getting upwards of 85,000 a year, depending on what type of job they're wanting to do and who they're willing to work for and the type of environment. And as you grow, it does grow quite a bit. I have a friend who's about a decade in the field. He just broke 6 figures working with a manufacturing company. So there's a lot of growth depending on how you want to grow your career.
Fantastic. Great livable wages, it sounds like. That's
Oh, yes.
fantastic. So what did I miss? I asked you a lot of questions. Anything that you would want to say to a student or a teacher about your field that we didn't already ask?
One thing I think I mentioned it before, and I just want to say it again. When you have some of the best classes and best experiences you can have while you're going through your education is working in groups, working on projects. If you're going that route, make sure you apply yourself, make sure you are able to discuss in the future what you learned from those experiences and how are you able to apply that going forward into your education and potentially even your career in the future.
Fantastic. Really good advice today, Joseph. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Also want to give a shout out to Ohio College Tech Prep for being our partner in developing this webinar series. And we appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you very much.